Welcome back, everybody, to the Cleveland Guardians franchise here on MLB The Show 22. We are just about halfway through season number 5, and right now the team is playing pretty well as we are 53-34, getting pretty close to the All-Star break with a couple interdivision series upcoming against the Royals, Tigers, and White Sox. The trade deadline is looming in around a month, and we do not have a very strong lead on the division. We're only 1.5 games ahead of Minnesota, and we're only 3 games ahead of the White Sox. So we're going to need all hands on deck here these final 3 months because the AL Central is by far the best division in the AL. You can make the argument the 3 best teams in the conference are in this division. The story of this season has been our offense playing fantastic. We have one of the best offensive units in baseball for a second straight season. However, the pitching has been a major letdown for us this year, and that's ultimately why this team is in danger of not hitting their ceiling. Shane Bieber has not been good. Dylan Cease has struggled the last couple of months. Hunter Green has not been good. John Means, after a good start, isn't playing as well. Obviously, it would make a lot of sense for us to get a starting pitcher at the deadline, but we're $4 million in the red. And as I tried to figure out some experiments with the trades, it's actually more than $4 million. I don't know why, but it's more like 8. So, yeah, we can't really make any trades because we're sort of handcuffed in terms of our money. So we're kind of stuck with this current core for the rest of the year. We're going to simulate up to this series against the Tigers. We just played against the White Sox a couple episodes ago, and I want to get a look at Detroit as they're still kind of in the division race. And we would ultimately go 3-1 in the games against the Royals. Not too bad, bringing us to this 3-game set at Comerica Park against the Detroit Tigers. As it stands now, the Guardians at 56-35 find themselves 10 games ahead of the Tigers, who are in 4th place in the AL Central. But Detroit is right in the thick of things in the wild card race, and their big competitors are the Twins and the White Sox. So really the entire playoff bracket runs through the American League Central this year, with teams like Toronto and Houston playing a lot worse than they have in the past. There's a look at both lineups, regular starters for Detroit and Cleveland. It'll be Tariq Skubal, Scooby-Doo, on the mound for the Tigers. He's been pretty good this year, better than any of Cleveland's starting pitchers. 3.63 ERA, 1.17 whip, only a 5-8 record, but the rest of the numbers do look quite strong. Zane Rowley leads things off. He hits this one high and deep in left field. Back at the track, it's caught. A little anticlimactic there. That one looked like it could have reached the seats, despite this being a very pitcher-friendly park. Here's Dylan Cease, who through the first month of the year looked like a Cy Young candidate, and since the start of May, everything for him has completely fallen apart, and he is back to the Dylan Cease who has struggled over the last few seasons as he gets Riley Green to go down looking to open up the game. 2 away now for Spencer Torkelson, full count, and he goes down on the 12-6 curve. No base runners here in the first inning for either team. Good start for both of these pitchers as we go into the top of the second. Kyle Lewis, the likely all-star, is up for the Guardians. He goes down on the circle change. Nice pitch by Tariq Skubal. Both pitchers continuing to pitch very well into inning number 2 as Jesus Sanchez is up. He's really struggled against lefties this year, and it's not going to get any better that time as he goes down on the slider. Good work for Tariq Skubal. We'll see if Dylan Cease can keep it up in the bottom of the second as he gets Javier Baez on the 12-6 curve. Javi Baez with the signature Baez play of swinging at a pitch well outside at the strike zone as that brings us to the third. 2 away for Eliezer Alfonso, a former Tigers prospect. He draws a walk. That's the first base runner of the entire game for either team, and that gives Zane Rowley a huge opportunity to try to break this game open, but he swings and misses at the high fastball. That would have been ball 4 if he let that one go, but Rowley got a little bit aggressive, and it backfires. No hits, 1 runner left stranded as we go to the bottom of the third. Full count here for Diemi Odiemi. He will draw a walk, so the Tigers now get their first base runner of the ball game. That'll bring you up. Isaac Paredes in the 9-hole. Weekly grounds it over to third. Pena's going to look to turn 2. Gets it to Ramiro, who gets it to Ramirez. 5-4-3 double play. Good work by the infield. Barely getting both of those outs, but they are successful as we go into the fourth. Ramon Ramiro, the lefty killer, hits this one high and deep in a straightaway center. At the track, it's gone. Solo home run for Ramon Ramiro. And we finally have our first runs and hit of the game. Romero with his 5th homer of the season, 430 feet. That one went a long way here at the very pitcher-friendly Comerica Park. Kyle Lewis goes down on the fastball as Tariq Skubal gets through the rest of the frame with no problem, but not bad. The Guardians get on the board with their first run and hit. Riley Green hits it into center, and Kyle Lewis completely misplays it. I don't know if the sun got in his eyes or what. It goes to the wall in center. The runner, Riley Green, is headed home, and he is just barely safe with an inside-the-park home run. They should call that an error because that was a routine fly ball for Kyle Lewis, and he just completely misplayed it, leading it to go into the back of the wall, which is farther than most parks because it's Comerica. It's not even that sunny out, so I don't really know how Kyle Lewis completely misplayed that, but just so there's no more issues, he's going to move over to left, and Zane Rowley will move over to center. Not ideal. That ends the shutout. That ends the no-hitter. And here is hit number 2. A single by Connor Scott into left to get the Tigers another base runner. One away now for Gallo. Hits this one high and deep in left field. Lewis at the track at the wall, and it is robbed! Kyle Lewis just completely made up for his blunder earlier in the inning by robbing a 2-run homer. He didn't have to necessarily get that high up, but as we look at the replay, I think that ball would have gone over the fence. So Kyle Lewis, after indirectly allowing a home run, robs one. Keibert Ruiz strikes out, and that'll end an eventful 4th inning for both teams. Ramon Romero homers. Riley Green gets an inside the Parker off of a Kyle Lewis error. And then Kyle Lewis robs a Joey Gallo home run. Into the 5th, Jesus Sanchez draws a walk. Good start to the frame for Cleveland as they try to get this lead back by getting an early base runner. 2 away now for Eliezer Alfonso. He hits this one well into left. Does not quite have the carry, however, as it is caught. So the Tigers get through the 5th with no problem as it remains tied at 1 with only 3 total hits from both of these teams, all 3 of which, of course, came in the 4th inning. Odiemi goes down on the fastball. Nice pitch by Dylan Cease. Neither Cease or Skubal are showing any signs of slowing down. Both of these guys look great right now as Paredes with 2 away grounds it to third. Pena makes the play, and we are through 5 in what has been a weird but exciting game here in the Motor City as we move into the 6th. Ramon Romero homered in his last at-bat. This time he goes down looking. He thought that was ball 4, maybe a little bit outside, but the umpire does not give him the call. That'll bring up Ketel Marte, another guy who rakes against left-handed pitching, but he strikes out on the fastball. Another good inning for Skubal, as through 6 innings, the Guardians still only have 1 hit. Bottom 6, Riley Green nearly hits this one out of the park as it goes off the top of the wall out in right center field. That's a home run pretty much everywhere else except for Comerica as it ends up as a double for Green. He's now on third for Torkelson, who singles up the middle into center. That'll score a run, and the Tigers take their first lead of the day off of an RBI single by Spencer Torkelson, and that'll make it a 2-1 ball game. Dylan Cease still cooking as Javier Baez draws a rare walk. That's his only 5th of the year. I'm exaggerating, but I really wouldn't be surprised if he's only walked 5 times. Keibert Ruiz then rips it down the line and fair. That should score at least 1. Torkelson scores. It's now 3-1. Baez looks to score him, and he is thrown out. And there's Javier Baez being over-aggressive play. Nonetheless, Keibert Ruiz drives in a run to go along with the Torkelson RBI single earlier in the inning, and the Tigers lead 3-1 going into the 7th. Kyle Lewis rips this one high and deep in a left center field, and it goes off the wall. Just the 2nd base hit of the game for the Guardians. It's a double for Kyle Lewis. He is now in scoring position. The Guardians got to take advantage of this. They have not had many base runners today, and it will not be against Tariq Skubal, who is taken out of the game. He'll be replaced by Kendall Graveman, who's been pretty solid this year for Detroit. Nothing crazy, but very solid coming out of the bullpen as with 2 away. He faces off against George Valera, who goes down fishing on the low slider. No damage done here in the top of the 7th as Detroit remains on top 3-1. Taj Bradley now in the game here in the bottom half of the inning. It's been a very up and down roller coaster rookie season for him. He's had some good stretches and he's had some bad stretches. I think he's on a bad stretch right now as he allows the first two batters of the inning to reach base. The Tigers had no base runners through 3 innings, and since then their offense has looked pretty strong. Luckily, Taj Bradley, after allowing the first 2, would retire the next 3, finished off by a Connor Scott ground out. So with 2 innings to go, Detroit still leads 3-1. We'll see if Cleveland can make the comeback, and in order to do so, they're going to have to get some hits together. Brian Abreu comes into the game here in the 8th. 15 innings, 15 runs allowed. He hasn't been very good. 1 on, 1 away for Zane Rowley. He goes down on the fastball for the second out of the inning. That'll bring up Ramon Romero now, the only source of runs today for Cleveland, and he strikes out on the inside fastball. Good inning for Abreu as it remains 3-1. Cleveland's chances not looking too good. Ryan Weathers comes into the game here out of the bullpen at the bottom of the 8th. He quietly has been quite good this year, of a sub-3 ERA. He'll face off against Joey Gallo, who grounds it over to first. Okay, I don't know what that was. Jose Ramirez should have jumped up for the ball, not to the side. That was a line drive above him, but whatever. Following batter, Pena misthrows to second. Should have been a double play, but instead everybody is safe. That's the first actual called error of the game, but there's been like 3 or 4 really bad defensive plays. Romero deflects it, but it'll result in a base runner. The inning should be over by now, but instead, the bases are loaded with 1 away. Ryan Weathers will be taken out of the game. The Guardians trust Camilo Duvall a little bit more here to get out of the jam. This is where Duvall shines as he gets Wilmer Flores to go down on the way outside slider. What a filthy pitch by Camilo Duvall. And then Odeyemi goes down on the fastball. Camilo Duvall is so good. I don't think he's going to make the All-Star team this year, but he absolutely should. Going into the 9th, speaking of likely All-Stars, Tyler Wells is on the mound for the Tigers to finish off the game. He's 16 of 18 in save opportunities as the Guardians are down to their last strike, and Kyle Lewis draws a walk. That's a tough pitch to lay off. You know he wanted to swing at that. So after that, the Guardians will make a substitution. Jesus Sanchez would have been up, but they'll replace him with Josh Bell, who makes a big play. Bell rips it into right for the 3rd base hit of the entire game for Cleveland as it results in a double. 2 runners in scoring position, 2 outs, a base hit, probably scores both of them and ties it up. A huge opportunity for George Valera, who leads the entire American League in batting average, and he nearly gets hit. The Tigers are lucky that one didn't get him. So now the count is full. 2 on, 2 out. The Guardians down by 2. Valera hits it nicely to third. Isaac Paredes backhanded throw. That'll do it. What a play at third base by Isaac Paredes to win the game pretty much for the Tigers. If that ball gets by him into the outfield, I think both runs would have scored and this game would have been tied up. But instead, the Tigers hang on for the win, 3-1. Your final as Cleveland finishes with just 3 base hits today. The offense was just not good. Ramon Romero had the home run in the 4th, and that was it. We only had 2 base hits the rest of the game. The pitching was really good. I thought Dylan Cease had a strong outing. The bullpen was really good. But our defense let us down in multiple instances. Even if the defense had played well, I still think we would have lost because the offense had one of their worst games of the year. Shout out to Tariq Skubal. Shout out to the Tigers bullpen. All those guys pitched fantastic today. So let's now go to the All-Star break here. We've got 2 more games in Detroit and then 4 in Chicago against the White Sox. In that stretch of games, we went 3-3, splitting the last 2 against the Tigers, including losing the 3rd 11-1. Not good. You know who pitched in this game for us? John Means, the one guy who's been kind of good this year, now even he is starting to struggle. Against the White Sox, we won 2 of 4. Both of our wins, we scored double-digit runs. We got 12 here in this first game. And then in the last one, we won 16-4. We scored 9 in the 5th. Eliezer Alfonso drove in 6 runs in this game. Good Lord. He only had 14 RBIs going into the game, and he nearly multiplied it by 33%. He's up to 20. So going into the All-Star break, not much has changed in terms of the standings. We're a game and a half ahead of the Twins, 3 ahead of the Royals. That'll bring us to the home run derby, and we do have our very own Jose Ramirez participating. Last year, Ramirez was the #1 seed. Remember his historic start to the year last season. This year, he's only the 6th seed with 25 homers, but he's obviously still been very good this year. Last year, despite being the #1 seed and the home run derby favorite, Jose Ramirez did not perform well. He lost in, I believe, the second round. It might have even been the first round. I don't really remember. But Jose Ramirez was pretty disappointing last year at the home run derby, so hopefully he can do a little bit better this year here at the newly built Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. This is the Rangers' new ballpark that they put in, I think, around 5 or so years ago, considering now we're in 2026. There's a look at the bracket. As you see, Jose Ramirez in the top right. He'll be going up against Jarred Kelenic of the Seattle Mariners in the first round. Kelenic leads the American League in home runs this year, and he looks like the slight favorite for the AL MVP. So let's simulate to our first opportunity here in the home run derby. As you can see in the left side of the bracket, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Brian Reynolds, the two higher seeds, are moving on. They'll face off against each other in the second round. So let's now move to our side of the bracket. We'll go up first, being the lower seed compared to Kelenic, and it's on. Jose Ramirez has won a couple home run derbies in this series. Obviously, he's kind of struggled last year. We'll see what he can do here, as with the home run derby, you'll have 4 minutes. If Jose Ramirez hits 2 homers of 440 feet within that span, then he'll get an additional 30 seconds of bonus time. So far, Ramirez is doing solid. He's had a couple go above 430, but no 440 plus quite yet. Still at 5 home runs. Now he's starting to struggle a little bit. Really not doing all that well right now. He's got to pick it up as he sends it to the opposite field. Again, just short. He's really got to start playing better, and there you go. 450, 443. 2 big home runs, both giving him bonus time, and now he's starting to feel himself. Ramirez was starting to struggle, but he's now at 5 homers in a row, make it 6. There's no need to call that timeout because he's red hot. 7 in a row. How about 8 in a row? There is 9 in a row. Can we get another one? That's 10 in a row. He is unbelievable as he fouls one and then calls his timeout. He waited until he missed one because he was on a heat check that entire time. He still has 37 seconds along with bonus time. So he's got another pretty much minute or so as he's back into a groove. Currently at 17 homers. He's probably going to have one more before regulation ends, and that will not go. So now we're into bonus time. He's at 19 home runs. That one's going to be 20. One more pitch to go here. This one goes into straightaway center field. Does it have the carry? Not quite. 20 home runs is still a really good number for Jose Ramirez. We'll see how much Jarred Kelenic ends up getting here and if Jose Ramirez will be able to move on to the next round as he selfies with his former teammate Bobby Bradley. Yes, right after we trade Bobby Bradley is when he becomes an all-star, of course. Bradley's numbers aren't even that good. It's just that Toronto doesn't really have anyone else super deserving. As you can see here, Kelenic only hit 16 homers, so that means Jose Ramirez will go into the second round. It'll be against Giancarlo Stanton, who ended up defeating Juan Soto. But it's not all gloom for Juan Soto because I believe he is hitting 380 this year. I'm not exaggerating. Juan Soto's literally hitting 380. Him and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. are literally having like this generational MVP race in the NL. As speaking of Guerrero, he advances to the final round, beating Brian Reynolds, who only hit 12 homers, meaning Vlad only needed to get 13. So that'll bring us here to the second round for our bracket. Since Giancarlo Stanton is the lower seed, he already hit, and he only hit 12 homers, so Jose Ramirez should have no problem beating that. The only problem is, assuming Jose Ramirez does get the 12 homers and moves into the finals, he's going to have to go next because he'll go against Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who is the #1 overall seed. So Jose Ramirez is going to have back-to-back rounds, so he's going to need to be smart with how he uses his timeouts. He is well on pace to break Stanton's number. He already has the 2 440-plus foot home runs. So that means he has his bonus time, although I don't think he's going to need it. Currently at 10 homers with 2 minutes to go. Again, not including the bonus time. This one is number 12, and he strategically calls his timeout here. He wanted to still use the timeout at some point during this round just so he can get an extra breather, as this one is number 13 for the win. 420 feet, 420 blaze it. So Jose Ramirez is going to the final. He'll go up against Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of the Los Angeles Dodgers to determine the winner of the 2026 Home Run Derby. Again, Jose Ramirez is trying to be strategic here. He called that timeout because he wanted to give himself an extra breather before the last round. Since timeouts don't carry over, he figured he might as well use it so he can be less fatigued than he would have been. Since Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the higher seed, obviously Ramirez is going to go first. So we're not going to see Vlad's number until after Jose Ramirez's round. So far, so good for J-Ram. He's at 5 homers, trying to make it 6, and it is gone. Jose Ramirez is doing good so far. He's got 1 homer of 440-plus feet. That one just shy of 438. That one's 439. He's so close to getting that second 440-foot home run. And now he's starting to struggle a little bit, trying to get back into it, as there's home run number 10. He's had so many that have gone close to 440. That one was 436. This one is a little bit short as he calls a timeout. In the final round, you'll have 2 timeouts, so Jose Ramirez will be able to use the second timeout a little bit later on. I am a little bit concerned he might not reach his bonus time. He has been within 5 or 6 feet of 440 on like 5 or 6 homers in this round. He's just been just short the entire time. He's only got about 40 seconds as he calls another timeout, trying to get that bonus time, 432. This one goes only 391. He only has a couple more swings. There you go, 443. So Jose Ramirez will get that bonus time. Final swing of regulation is just a little bit short. So he has 30 seconds, currently 21 homers. Here we go. This is it. 22, 23. Not quite. One more swing for 24. It's a liner, not all that high, but it is gone. 24 home runs for Jose Ramirez here in the final round of the Derby. A great showing by our very own Jose Ramirez, and now it's up to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the slight National League favorite. Again, him and Juan Soto are both having historically good seasons. So Vlad has unlocked his bonus time, but he's not doing too hot here. He needs 6 home runs in 30 seconds. I don't think he's going to be able to get 6 swings off in 30 seconds. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to happen here for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. as he falls just short at 20. So ultimately, Jose Ramirez getting that bonus time ended up being sort of the deciding factor. And there you go. Jose Ramirez has won the 2026 Home Run Derby. Shout out to our guy J-Ram for winning the Derby this year. He only was the 6th seed, but he was able to make his way to the finals. He hit 24 homers here in this last round, ultimately defeating Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That'll bring us to the All-Star game itself in Texas. Before we start, I do want to take a quick look at some of the All-Star rosters, as we ultimately ended up with 4 players, no starting pitchers. Obviously, no one deserves it. We do have Emmanuel Clase here. I want to talk about him specifically real quick, because in the 5 years of this series, he's made the All-Star team all 5 years. He is having his best season this year. 35 innings pitched, only 6 homers, only 4 walks. He's pretty much matched his strikeout total from last year with a .7 whip. In this series, his highest ERA is 2.08, and he's never had a whip above 1. This is a historic 5-year run for a reliever. Not even Mariano Rivera, the greatest closer of all time, has had a run like this. Unfortunately for us, Clase is a free agent. We're going to have to pay him, and we would be hard-pressed not to. No Camilo Doval. I thought he kind of deserved it. That was really the only gripe I had with the All-Star team this year. I thought Doval should have gotten in. Jose Ramirez will be the starter at third base. Again, very well deserved. I believe he's made the All-Star team all 5 seasons in this series. And then Ketel Marte and Kyle Lewis are back in the outfield. We also had a couple former Guardians make it. Both Zach Plesac and Cal Quantrill end up getting in. But for our team currently, we finished with 4 All-Stars: Clase, J-Ram, Marte, and Kyle Lewis. I'm pretty sure we had those exact same 4 last year. And again, the only small gripe I had is that I think Camilo Doval should have gotten in, but I'm happy those 4 ended up making it. As for the Minor League All-Stars, here's a look. We had Colton Hawk make it out of the bullpen along with Fernando Cabrera. And then in terms of position players, we had Rodolfo Duran at catcher, Connor Cannon at first base, Aaron Bracco at second base, Jesse Lynn over at third, pretty much our whole starting infield. And then in the outfield, Jairo Palmares. Kevin Alcantara has been pretty much the best player in all of AA this year. He's probably going to get called up pretty soon. He may even get to the majors by the end of the season. And then in AAA, we had less players because the AAA All-Star team is smaller. We did have Humberto Guzman, who's been really bad this year. I don't know why he got on, but he did. There's Bo Naylor, former member of our organization, along with Dustin Harris, another guy who's probably going to get called up pretty soon. Mason Wynn at shortstop. And then in the outfield, another former Guardian player in Jalen Davis. So that'll bring us to the 2026 Major League All-Star Game. The MLB All-Star Game is always my favorite of all the big-time sporting All-Star Games because you can't really, not try in baseball. Like, in the NFL Pro Bowl, they don't tackle as hard. In the NBA All-Star Game, they don't play defense, although a lot of people will tell you they don't play defense to begin with. But in the MLB All-Star Game, you can't really not give an effort. Here's a look at both lineups. Jose Ramirez, the only starter here for our Cleveland Guardians, but of course we have Ketel Marte and Kyle Lewis in his reserves, along with Emmanuel Clase. So let's get this show on the road, as neither side would be able to score in the first. Both teams had multiple runners thrown out in the first inning. And now Jose Ramirez is up here in the bottom of the second. Walker Buehler starting for the National League, going up against Shane McClanahan of the White Sox. As Ramirez hits this one nicely in the left field, beating the shift perfectly. And that's going to result in a double. Good play for Jose Ramirez, the Home Run Derby champion from last night's Home Run Derby. He got a lot of applause from the crowd. We'll see if they can drive him in, and unfortunately they cannot. Shohei Ohtani is now on the mound here in the third, not doing too well as he allows an RBI, courteous of Chuka Chakanawara. Dustin May now in. He would get through the inning smoothly. Garrett Cole checks in for the American League, retires the side with no problem. Zach Plesac is now in the game. He is with the Braves. He has spent the past few seasons with the Diamondbacks. He was actually part of the Ketel Marte trade. So although we let Plesac go, and he's been really good since then, that deal has ultimately worked out pretty well for us, as Jose Ramirez flies out to center. It's weird seeing all of our former pitchers do well. Plesac and Quantrill are all-stars this year. Aaron Savale has been really good for a while. He was an all-star last year. Yet we have Shane Bieber, who sucks this year. Speaking of Quantrill, he pitched in the fifth. Now in the sixth inning, Randy Dobnak is in from the Twins. He gets through the inning, no problem. And now we're starting to put some of our backups in the game, including Ketel Marte, who will enter the game here facing off against lefty Marco Gonzalez. We know Ketel Marte loves going up against lefties. That should have been a single, but Chuka Chakanawara makes an incredible play at second base to prevent him of the base hit. I guess that's Chakanawara's revenge from the World Series a couple years ago because he was on that Rockies team. Moving forward a little bit now, Kyle Lewis will be getting at bat here with two away, still going up against Marco Gonzalez of the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers had like 3 or 4 different pitchers in the All-Star game as Lewis lines out to second. Again, Chakanawara with a nice defensive play. Still 1-0 going into the seventh. Giovanni Gallegos is now on the mound here as he will allow an RBI double to Ronald Acuna into the bottom of the seventh, continuing to get more guys in, including Bobby Bradley, who actually hits a single off of Lucas Sims. That'll bring up Jose Ramirez now. Full count here for J. Ram. We wanted to give him one more at bat, as this one is grounded over to short. The National League will turn one as the throw from Chakanawara at second is offline. We'll see if Lucas Sims of the San Francisco Giants can get through the rest of the inning now, as he will face off against Adley Rutschman. And they actually make a pitching change. Ramon Armas finishes off the inning. Here in the eighth, Josh Hader of the Orioles comes into the game. He allows an RBI double to Malone, but gets through the rest of the inning. And then here in the bottom half of the frame, Ramon Armas of the Miami Marlins is still in the game as he faces off against Ketel Marte, who weakly grounds it over to second. And the National League will turn two this time. They get the double play. So it will remain 3-0 going into the ninth inning. Emmanuel Clase will come on to pitch. He's made 5 All-Star teams in a row. He is having, honestly, the best 5-year stretch a reliever has ever had, in my opinion. I know that sounds like a stretch, but I can't think of anyone else who's done it better. First batter flies out to second, caught by Chris Taylor. That will bring up Kyle Tucker of the Pirates, who draws a walk. Clase has only allowed 4 walks this year, so I guess now that's 5. Ronald Acuna checks his swing on the fastball for the second out of the inning. 2 away now for the catcher, Salvador Perez, now of the New York Mets. Flies out to left, and that one will be caught by our very own Ketel Marte. That'll bring us to the bottom of the ninth inning. We'll see if the American League can pull off a big comeback. Kyle Lewis, for what it's worth, is due up second. We'll go up against Corey Knebel, who is 27 of 27 in save opportunities this season. He has Nick Madrigal ground out. That'll bring up Kyle Lewis here with 1 away. Count is full. We'll see if Kyle Lewis is going to be able to start a rally as he strikes out on the inside fastball. So now it all comes down to the final batter. We've got a pinch hitting decision to make here. Do we want Zach Geloff or Alex Bregman? We go with Bregman, and I'm pretty sure he struck out. So the National League wins the 2026 Major League All-Star Game by the final score of 3-0. The AL just could not really hit today. The National League's pitchers were a little bit too good in this one. Started off by Walker Buehler, finished off by Corey Knebel, and everybody else in the middle dominating as Knebel wins the Player of the Game. You know the All-Star Game is kind of boring when they give a relief pitcher the Player of the Game, but shout out to Knebel, I guess. Overall, not a great showing by the American League, but still fun here to watch all of baseball's best stars come together. Shohei Ohtani gets the loss. Gallegos and Hader allowed the other runs, but it wasn't the pitching's fault. So after the All-Star break, we have a big trade. The Red Sox get Victor Robles from the Phillies for Rougned Odor, Ryan Wilcox, and Ceddanne Rafaela. I don't really know why the Red Sox are doing that. I think the Phillies kind of fleeced them. So that'll pretty much wrap up the episode. Next time, we're going to wrap up the month of July. We're going to go through the trade deadline and then into August. We would probably spend more time on the trade deadline if we had money, but since we're broke, I presume we're not really going to be making any moves, unfortunately. That'll wrap up the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.